my name is Vina, aka Miss WOC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. So in the second half of the month, I went on a trip to Boston with my mom, so we spent the last few days of September in Boston. I also decided to go ginger, which I've been ginger before, but this is a different type of ginger. And ginger, aka red hair, makes me think Little Mermaid, so I did a kind of Little Mermaid inspired eye today, and I'm wearing my Little Mermaid shirt. And I actually didn't do a lot of reading in the second half of September. I of course went on my trip to Boston, so even though I had plenty of time to read on like the 2 train trips that I had to take down and back, I just couldn't concentrate really on reading, and the book I was reading in particular on the trip was kind of lengthy anyway, so I knew I wouldn't finish it, and it was kind of like nodding off in between, not because the book was boring, but just because like it's a long ride. We were up all day traveling. The train is very calming, so I was okay with not really getting any reading done because I didn't figure I would get any books finished anyway. And the days leading up to it, I was kind of busy packing and doing last minute prep. So I actually didn't read a ton in the second half of September. So this should be fairly quick with the books that I did read. Let's get into it. Right here I have Beware the Heartman by Shakira Bourne. This is the second book in the series with Josephine Against the Sea. I don't remember the official name of the series. This was an ARC that was gifted to me by the author and Scholastic, and I really enjoyed this one. So like I said, it's a continuation of Josephine Against the Sea, so if you've read that one and enjoyed it, this is very funny too. Josephine is back, and life has settled a little bit since the events of the previous book. Her dad is dating her teacher, Miss Elaine, and she's okay with it now, and they're kind of becoming more serious, and they decide to go on a couple's cruise together, which Josephine actually encourages growth because the year before she was not acting like that. What she's really focused on is they took the common entrance exam recently, and she's trying to get into this school called Lambing with her best friend Akai, and she ends up getting into Queen Mary's, which is still a good school but not the school she wanted, and she's just not sure how she's going to deal without going to school with her best friend. So she's trying to convince her dad to sign the form that it will allow her to go to Lambing. In the meantime, Akai has this new friend who's trying to kind of push her out and take her spot, and you know how it is when somebody tries to be your best friend's friend, like it doesn't work out. On top of that, there's this people are disappearing in their little fishing village. So first it was her coach, then it was a friend from her cricket team, and she and Akai are trying to figure out who is behind it before anybody else disappears, and they believe it is the Heartman, who is a creature from Bayesian folklore. And so this is just a quick, fast-paced, funny adventure that I really do think that the kids can enjoy. I love how true it is to Bayesian culture without needing to kind of twist itself to fit a more American standard, as some books do in middle grade and YA by Caribbean authors when they're trying to hit the US market. So I appreciated how it still stayed pretty authentic. And overall, I just had a good time with this one. So still a Caribbean book, but switching gears just a little bit, I read Sweetness in the Skin, which is by Ishi Robinson. This is a book that I saw everywhere. When I was in Jamaica, I saw Cindy from Book of Sins reading it. I saw it all over Bookstagram. I think I even saw a couple of people here on BookTube reading it. So I'm like, okay, everybody's reading it. I'm going to pick it up because Caribbean literature is really becoming more mainstream in the US. I think within the past year or so, we're seeing a lot more of these stories at the forefront, especially with books like Black Cake being adapted to a series. So I was interested because a lot of people were talking about this one, and sadly it disappointed. So Sweetness in the Skin follows Pumpkin. She is 13. She lives with her granny and her auntie Sophia in a small house in downtown Kingston. So the uptown downtown dynamic comes up a lot in this book. For those unfamiliar, in Kingston, the downtown area is the poorer area where a lot of darker skinned black people live, whereas the uptown area is the wealthier area where a lot of lighter skinned people, mixed people, and even some white people live. So that dynamic definitely comes up a lot in this book because Pumpkin is light skinned. However, she lives downtown and goes to school at a school uptown. I don't feel like the colorism was necessarily explored well here, though. It's mentioned because Pumpkin's mother is dark skinned and Pumpkin's auntie Sophia is light skinned, and the mother often feels like Sophia just got her own way more and resents her for that. But she also resents Pumpkin for being light skinned and feeling like she gets her own way, even though Pumpkin's mother is not motherly at all. She comes and goes throughout the novel, barely paying attention to her until a few chapters in when Pumpkin's granny dies. When Pumpkin's granny dies, shortly after, Auntie Sophia has to go to France for work. She and Pumpkin have been planning to go to France for a long time. That is their dream. Pumpkin has been studying French, so one day they will be able to live the life they've always imagined in France. Since Auntie Sophia is going first, she can't take Pumpkin with her right away. Pumpkin must stay with her mother. Now, we mentioned Pumpkin's mother does not like her. She's never really shown any interest in her. And Pumpkin's mother is also very abusive, so I didn't understand why Auntie Sophia felt like it was a good idea to leave Pumpkin with the mother, knowing the mother hates this child, knowing the mother has been abusive to Pumpkin in the past. At the same time, Pumpkin's mother also finds her father, who she never met before, and moves him to the house. He also hates Pumpkin for reasons I don't understand. Like, I understand just not wanting a child, but like these two actually just want to see her fail just for the fuck of it. And that part I feel like wasn't well explained by the author, because there are definitely people who don't want kids, who are terrible parents, want nothing to do with their kids, as Pumpkin's mother often did. But that extra layer of resentment I didn't understand, because most of the time when people just don't want their kids, they just don't fuck with them like that. And so Pumpkin is making her little baked goods, trying to sell them around town and at school so she can raise money so that she can take this test, and when she takes this test, she'll be able to get into the school in France. And her mother and father are trying to derail her the entire time. I feel like the author, she has to be from uptown Jamaica, first of all, because I feel like she put just like a lot of stereotypes on downtown Jamaica, and it was like everybody there almost came from like a similar bad experience. And I know bad experiences happen, but it's just so easy to write a book with a bad mother relationship. That's a very common trope I find in Caribbean literature. It's so easy to mention colorism but not really get to the root of it. And I feel like it's so easy to just write the downtrodden poor person trying to rise above. Oftentimes I wondered, like, when the community was going to step in and help Pumpkin. I was like, where is Jamaican Child Protective Services, and why has nobody threatened them yet? And that does come way too late in the book for me, in my opinion, after things just get extremely worse. And I feel like the conclusions that Pumpkin came to in the end didn't make sense based off of what we saw on page. There were a lot of conversations that she needed to have to come to these realizations that didn't happen. And the ending was just too neat. It almost felt like a Disney movie. Everything just came together right, and she learned these lessons. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So unfortunately, while I wanted to love this one, I ended up being frustrated a lot of time while reading, and then very disappointed in the way it felt. Like I said, it just felt like we were checklisting what makes a critically acclaimed Caribbean book versus actually writing something that felt real. Last, I read Second Tides to Charm by Chandra Blumberg. This was my second Chandra Blumberg read. I read her first book, the name is escaping me right now, but that one was boring. I didn't really care for it. I'm like, okay, this one is in a different series, it's a different publisher. The cover caught my attention, as well as just like the black marine biologist. There's something that's always been fascinating to me about marine biology and the ocean, even though it's not a career I ever wanted to pursue. So I was definitely interested in seeing how she was going to portray it in this book. We are following a female main character and a male main character. It's kind of like a dual POV type of situation. And our female main character is working for her friend's tour company around the Great Lakes region in Michigan. She's not very good at it, and her friend ends up firing her, so she ends up taking this job where she's going to be working on her ex-boyfriend's team, not realizing that he isn't just a researcher, he also has like a YouTube channel and a whole social media following. So, and he's like pretty wealthy, so that comes to, like, that's very shocking to her because she didn't realize like he was doing all this. This one, I just felt like both our female main character and our male main character sounded exactly the same, like they had the same voice. So even though it was dual POV, it didn't matter whose POV you were listening to. And I don't feel like they had a lot of chemistry. There was a lot of, why did we break up? Or I've been longing for him for so long, or I've been longing for her for so long. But I didn't find their dynamic any fascinating. I really actually didn't understand why they broke up in the first place. Like, I just really didn't get it. So that made it hard also to buy this second chance romance. And like I said, it moved. Like, it wasn't anything exciting. I found myself just like kind of almost spacing out at points and just like listening to get it over with. And I don't think if I didn't have the audiobook that I would have continued my read. So I don't think like this author is an author for me, because like even the stuff with the marine biology, I thought that would fascinate me. I'm like, oh, they're going to be going on this excursion, we're going to see some cool stuff. I didn't even find those scenes to be written very well. So yeah, it just kind of fell flat and I was disappointed. So those are the books that I read in the second half of September. Let me know if you read any of them, or if you have nothing to say, leave me a pumpkin emoji since Halloween is coming around. And if you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!